Welcome to Canvas of the Heart, presented by Free Arts for Abused Children of Arizona. The mission of Free Arts is to transform children's trauma to resilience through the arts. This show is a collection of conversations that spotlight the ways Free Arts creates hope for children and teens who've experienced abuse, neglect, or homelessness. We hope you find this show to be informative, inspiring, and fun. Hi, Jenna.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great, Matt. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I think we're both going to be better when we get a chance to talk about something we both care a lot about at Free Arts. And
yes, I'm excited.
That's the young people in our program, and in particular what we have called alumni. And so I think that this is a great time to bring in our guest, Paula Wilson, who is our program coordinator for the senior program coordinator for what we call alumni. And it's been growing. So welcome.
Hi.
Yes, it's exciting to have you here. Start us off with how you found out and got involved with Free Arts.
Sure. So my connection with Free Arts started, back in 2010, working at one of Free Arts partner agencies with the Children's Services Department of UMOM. And I was connected to the weekly mentor program, and we got a couple volunteer mentors back in 2010, and those specific volunteer mentors kept coming back to UMOM season after season to work with the children in the program that I ran at UMOM. And then when our Children's Services Department closed in 2020, I looked to see if there were any openings with Free Arts. Free Arts wasn't hiring at that time because of the pandemic, but then reached back out to Free Arts in 2021, and there was an opening for a program coordinator. So that was what brought me here.
That's awesome. So tell me, how did you go from being, what was it that you were first doing when you were here with Free Arts, and how did that evolve into being in the alumni program?
I first started as the program coordinator for the Professional Artist Series. So I was connecting professional teaching artists with the partner agencies to work with the children that we serve to provide skill building programs for them. And after about a year doing that, working with the teaching artists and our partner agencies, this other opportunity came to be a senior program coordinator and work directly with the young adults that we serve. So it started as a program for 14 to 24-year-olds, and these were young adults that did our programs as children. So they went through our camps and our weekly mentor programs and our Free Arts days when they were teenagers. And then they wanted to stay connected with Free Arts, and Free Arts started an alumni program for them. And this is how this young adult program kind of came to be. It started as an alumni program, and we needed a coordinator for that, so I joined as that.
Nice.
So when we talk about the term alumni, what do we mean by that?
So an alumni member, which we still call the young adults alumni, because they have kind of grabbed ownership of that term. That means a lot to them. But the alumni term meant that these young adults participated in programs when they were children, and they kind of graduated from that. So like any alumni from a college or another institution, they have gone through the programs and they are now at another level. And that's the same for Free Arts. We had children and teenagers that did our programs, and then they kind of graduated from those social service agencies. And they wanted to stay connected to us. So we called them our Free Arts alumni, and then we built programs around that term, and with a purpose for keeping them connected to each other, the other young adults that they met as teens in programs. They wanted to stay connected to each other, and they lived in various social service agencies, foster homes, group homes, and they wanted to stay connected. So we created programs around that so that they can stay connected while also continuing to build skills and connections with caring individuals. So yeah, that's what the term alumni means. The folks that have kind of been here, they've done these programs and they kind of know the ropes, and now they're young adults that are still connected to us.
Paula, you just touched on some of the ways and reasons that young people are involved. I'm wondering if you can go into more detail about what's available to them and why they're motivated to seek those opportunities.
Yeah, so our young adults, when they were children and teens, they participated in our core programs, which are our camps, our theater camp, hip-hop camp, multicultural arts camp, our weekly mentor program, free arts days. Some of those types of programs are what they participated in when they were younger, and that's how they choose to give back in some of those ways now as young adults. They could volunteer in those programs and be able to directly impact the children that we serve through those programs. In other ways, some other programs that they support in are paid opportunities, such as our transformation tours that we've recently had. We had some of our young adults lead some of those tours or be tour guides to the community members that came in to view our building. We held that tour so that people could see our building and learn about what we do here in the community and why this work is so important. And so we kind of got our alumni involved to be those spokespeople to be able to tell our community why the program is important and how they're connected to our programs. And that was a paid opportunity and a learning opportunity for them to practice speaking to a group of people and speaking in front of people, which can be really hard for some folks. And they had the opportunity to practice facilitation and leadership skills. So all of those types of things are some ways that they have been able to give back to free arts.
Well, and I think that what you're sharing there represents part of their journey, and I think it's a incredible part about free arts that even as there's opportunities for them, I've seen them do the transformation tour, and it's definitely something where they very easily could steal the show because for those who've not been part of that, it's an opportunity to come visit the facility and get a touch of the programming, and you rotate, and it's all organized and done on a lovely Monday with, or not a Monday, but a morning with snacks and the whole thing. So you can network a little, get the vibe, and then someone speaks to you from the heart about their own experience in the program, and that really gets people connected and energized to it. But you talk about making that a paid opportunity, and it sounds like there's a value there to understand that each of these young people have a story, but we're not here as much as we can to take advantage of that we want to honor that and help them, process what their life challenges have been, their areas of resilience, which is our overall goal. So I'm wondering how that works out in the programming is you're always balancing, helping young people understand their voice and also their boundaries around that voice. Exactly.
And we love to give them the opportunity to not only have a paid opportunity because they're young adults, they're real human beings living life out there, and some of them may have aged out of the system, or they are now 18 and they're no longer able to live at a group home, so they are self-sustaining for the most part. So those paid opportunities really help with some of that, maintaining their livelihood and paying bills and learning those things. And we like to take the opportunity to, when we have those types of engagements, for them to also be learning opportunities, not just paid opportunities where we're giving them some funds for coming and sharing a connection, but we want them to also learn and continue learning how to lead, how to be a leader, how to build positive connections, and maintain those connections, and just really work on some of those social skills and getting them ready for the career field, and connecting them with teaching artist and helping them to learn new skills and how do I create an invoice. Some people never learned how to do that. Mm-hmm. So how do I bill for my services and my time? How do I share this? How do I talk to someone or accept feedback about a skill? So those are some of the things that they gain when they're doing paid opportunities with Free Arts.
I think that's excellent that that's part of the program, and it's even if it wasn't the intention behind the program originally, it's one of those things that is produced from it. Those skills, those communication skills, those life skills that we kind of take for granted that we think come naturally to just any and everybody, but coming to realize that that's actually not the case at all. So you mentioned like how to do an invoice. So have you found that you have some alumni who have found their own passion through being part of the programs, that now they're taking it even beyond just being a participant and just maybe enjoying it for leisure?
We have a couple alumni who, when they started as teenagers and in our programs, and through the course of time, staying connected with Free Arts, we have a young adult that actually changed their major. And at ASU, they started as a psychology major.
Woo-woo.
And yeah, woo-woo. And then they felt that creative writing was more dear to their heart, and that was from some of the work that they did with Free Arts. Mm-hmm. And they found their passion in creative writing. And this particular young adult has created pieces and shared pieces on stage through Free Arts and at their school because of that. Because they were introduced to spoken word through a camp program, and they're like, this might be something that I connect with. This is a heart thing, and it goes beyond just a thing that I can do outside of my group home or in my free time. It turned into a career path. And this particular young adult has gone on internships to Spain through her creative writing courses. And we have another young adult that found theater as their passion as a teenager and a young person. And they were able to, we do a theater camp with the partnership of the Herberger Theater downtown Phoenix. And this young adult was connected to our programs through theater camp and through our storybook ballet. And they started studying theater, and they actually got a job at the Herberger. And they started working at the Herberger full time. And so, the connections that our young adults get through Free Arts is more than just leisure time. It's them being able to connect to something deeper, finding their passions within themselves, and Free Arts just tries to support them. When they connect to that passion, what can we do to help you mold that? What do you need to learn? What do you need to grow in this area? And then we try to offer that to them.
So when we're offering these programs, these opportunities, it's not done just with Free Arts. We partner, right? We partner with lots of people and organizations. Tell us about who you partner with.
Sure. So we partner for various resource information and connection. We partner with Chicanos por la Casa, CPLC. We've partnered with 1 in 10 for various resources. Foster Advocates of Arizona, a couple of our young adults are connected with Foster Advocates Arizona to their board through their connection with Free Arts. And Foster 360, we partner with and North Star Independent Living Services. Some of their residents are participants in our program. So any social service agency that is connected to young adults under 26 that want to have connections to resources, programs, finding their passions in the arts. Those are the programs that we want to connect with.
So then that sounds like you don't actually have to be an alumni. You don't actually have to have been in a free arts program before in order to come and interact and connect with free arts now then.
Yes, that's correct. That was how that's how the alumni program started. This program started with our young adults that started as teens and children, and they learned about free arts as a child, and then they wanted to stay connected as a young person as they grew up and got older. Recently, our program has begun to expand to include participants that have not heard about free arts before. There's young adults who never knew free arts as a child, did not have the opportunity to maybe live in a group home, or their group home may not have been connected to free arts, so they didn't experience those programs when they were younger. And now they're young adults, but they still need connection to resources. They still need caring adult mentors and supportive services, community services and support. So we connect to their social service agency, whether they knew us at that time or not. And so for any young person aged 18 to 26 that is connected to a social service agency that we work with, they can be a part of our young adult empowerment program.
How do you go through the process of including their youth voice, in the programming, right? So these are individuals with their own ideas and some with their own independent lives. How do you include their thoughts and opinions about how programming should look and act?
We go through, there's several different ways that we get feedback and buy-in from our young adult community. A lot of that is through social media, right? Because that is their world of connection. They like to connect through social media, so we have set up various social media pages to stay connected to them, and I'll use surveys and polls to get their feedback on and their thoughts on specific programs that we might have or activities that we might do that would fit their age group, so that they can not only feel like, oh yeah, this is something cool, but they've also contributed to this idea and what's building from this idea. Hey, Paula, I need to learn about money. Okay, is this a program that you think we might need to have? Let's hear from, your peers. Let's put a poll out there. You guys want to do a financial literacy workshop? And then there's a poll and, a Facebook poll. And we get, contribution from everyone. They just mark a button. Yeah, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do this, or maybe I want to do a different program. And what does that look like? So we'll get feedback through social media, polls, surveys. We have also gotten a group of our young adults together and formed like a mini board, and would talk about programming and activities. Last year, in 2021, actually, our young adults worked together to hire a therapist, a temporary therapist that would do some group work with our young adult group, some like support group work, and that all came through our young adult program. They said this is a need that we have, and Free Arts just supplied the resources to fill the need, and the young adults did the interviews for the therapist. The young adults sat and had conversations with each therapist candidate to see if this would be the right fit for what we need. And they found a therapist that they liked, and we contracted that therapist to work with us for a year, and she did support groups with our young adults for a time. So when there's bigger things like that, we might pull the young adults into a group and say, hey, let's get, several of you together and make some decisions about how we want to move forward with this particular program.
I think that's so important, because what you're describing are basically like two things, right? So you're describing that aspect of co-leadership with the young adults, but you're also describing the power of choice, especially since so many of the individuals who come through our programs, being within the foster care system, don't have that understanding of choice because they never had it. It was taken away from them, having to be told, well, this is where you're going to go at this time. This is how long you're going to stay there. And now being an adult and having that choice, it's very important for that level of empowerment and saying, okay, I now have a say in what I'm experiencing, things that are going on in my life. Have you ever found that even with providing choice, sometimes it's a bit difficult to navigate because maybe it's not something that comes so naturally because it's something that's been suppressed for so long?
Yes, that definitely happens. I mean, for any person, right, if you're presented with too many options, it's like
overwhelming.
Right, it can be overwhelming. You know,
Paralyzed.
my awesome mama still doesn't want to tell us where she wants to eat when we're going out because
That's
she's
very stressful.
She doesn't. It's stressful.
It's stressful.
You don't want to say like, oh, I want to go to this place because you're worried about if person will like it, and you know the choice that you make. But self-autonomy is big. It's being able to choose what's right for you and in what moment is big. And we want to give our young adults, our alumni, that opportunity. But it has been difficult for many of them because, like you mentioned, Jenna, many of our young adults didn't have that opportunity. We're learning through child development and trauma-informed care. A lot of programs are learning that it's best to give children choices, right? But when a lot of our young adults were in those programs as children, that learning hadn't came yet. Those revelations about choice hadn't really, made it out into the open yet. So people were kind of telling the children, this is what we do, this is what you're going to do, and like you mentioned, especially when a child is in the system, they really don't have a say in who they live with, what time they have to move, what they can take with them. So a lot of that is brand new to a young adult that is now, I'm 18, I'm considered an adult by the world, and I have to make my own choices. So that can be scary, and it can be difficult. So there has been times where I'm like, okay, you all tell me what you want to do, and it's crickets, because they don't know what they want to do. They don't know what they need sometimes, and they're used to people telling them, this is what you need, and this is what you do to get what you need. Yeah. And then here comes Miss Paula, like, no, you tell me what you need, and what do you need to get what you need? And they're like, I don't know. So sometimes I do like to offer them options instead of just giving them an open sheet of just tell me anything. I give them options because that helps them to figure, oh, okay, so I can choose this. This is okay. Yeah, it's okay for you to choose what works for you. And that can be hard sometimes, but, I try to support them through that as much as possible.
Yeah, factors of like not having experiences of having a lot of choice or feeling like they have to accommodate the feelings of everyone else. Those are very common experiences that tie over as often manifestations of traumatic experiences years and years later, right? You think this is part of your personality, but you learned it somewhere. And yeah, there are levels where people are more agreeable or less agreeable, but it definitely is something that in awareness for adults, often they come to realize that like, I feel like I have to please everyone and I never get to put myself first. And all that to say, like, I'm curious what other things you see in common for the young people in these programs and the ways they've experienced difficulties, and what are some other things that are in mind for you and those who work with alumni and young adult empowerment program about what we might encounter when we work with young people?
It's really about the social interaction. the social connection, social interaction, social emotional health is very important, but a lot of times it's kind of put on the back burner, and it's like, you need to have a career so you can make the money, and you can do this and you can do that. But the thing that will maintain those career opportunities and jobs and getting out there is building social emotional connection and intelligence, right? You have to be able to learn how to regulate your emotions. Most people that have gone through some type of traumatic experience, they may experience triggers, what have been termed as triggers, which is a situation that makes sure your brain kind of think about whatever traumatizing experience you have endured, and you kind of go back into a flight or fight mode. And a lot of our young adults kind of are figuring out how to balance that, how to learn how to self-regulate as an adult. Maybe that wasn't something that they practiced a lot when they were a younger person. So that could be a difficulty or a challenge for a young adult, is to learn how to do that. So we try to, some of those things like our paid opportunities or internships, those are opportunities for building social connection, learning how to self-regulate in a professional environment. Because that can be hard. That can be hard to learn those things as an adult if you don't learn them. You're not introduce the process of how to do that. How do you cope when you're upset? Yeah. If you haven't been introduced that, you have to start sometime. And so those things can be hard, but the opportunities that we can provide them will allow them to practice some of that with us, and they can get that positive feedback and learn how to accept that feedback, and how do I then what's the next step after I receive this feedback? How do I move forward from here?
So what exactly do they do? Because you mentioned just now that there could be those triggering experiences, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm just thinking, if I'm a listener listening to this conversation without any understanding of free arts, how free arts operates, any part of the programming, but then I also hear that alumni or some young adults may come back wanting to give back to the same children. How do they manage that? How? Because I would imagine if I didn't know any better, that being a part of the program now as maybe like a counselor or maybe as like a volunteer or something, that situation within itself could potentially be triggering.
Yes.
So how do they manage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of our young adults, once they come back into our program and they are introduced to, whether they come back or they're introduced for the first time, if they would want to give back in any of our core programs and work directly with children, or in spaces where there could potentially be a situation or a child that may have experienced similar things that they experienced as a child, that could be potentially triggering. So they have to go through our volunteer training process, and they go through the same process as any of our volunteer mentors. And in that volunteer training, they learn about trauma-informed care. They talk a little bit about self-regulation and what some of that looks like, and how they can do that. And then we actually also follow up with them after the training to make sure that, do they have any questions about what they learned about trauma-informed care? Because now they're on the other side of it. They were once the folks that were experiencing, and some of the young adults are still experiencing trauma as an adult person.
Sure.
But they're learning as an adult person how to self-regulate, what coping skills could I use. So when they're in these spaces, when they're giving back and they're in these spaces with children, if any triggering thing happens, they have the skills to be able to either take a minute, step away, take a minute for themselves and, breathe or count or do a quick self-reflection, figure out what's happening inside of myself, and then return back to the group. And some of them I've seen, they may feel a bit triggered about something that might be happening in the space, but they have gained the resilience enough to be able to maintain in the space, and they might take an internal moment, but they're still in the space. They're still physically present. They might take an internal mental moment to,
coping.
Yeah, and they're learning how to cope. They're learning those coping skills, and then they get back into the groove of things.
Yeah.
Because they understand the work that we're doing and why they're here. They understand because they were that child before. And for our new folks that come in, that might not have been that child that was in programs. They'll still have that same opportunity to go through a volunteer training if they want to support programs. They'll still be able to learn some of those self-regulation skills and figure out what's the best coping skill for them. The young adults will be introduced to various arts programs that they could use as coping skills. If they like, we want to help them to find what works best for them. It goes back to that self-autonomy and that power of choice. Everybody might not be able to calm down with breathing or counting to 10, right? Someone might want to color or someone else might want to write. So different things work for different people, and we want all of our young adults to have the opportunity to figure out what works for you and how can you use what works for you in a space when you are potentially triggered.
Thank you for that. And we're getting close to closing up here. So I wonder if you could tell us, from your perspective, what your hopes are for the alumni now, the Young Adult Empowerment Program. What do you hope for the future?
Yeah, so for the future of the Young Adult Empowerment Program, we want our young adults to stay connected to us in some capacity. The hope is that we could, funnel them into programs as they grow older. So our Young Adult Empowerment Program is for 18 to 26 years old. And along that time frame of from 18 to 26, they are given the opportunity to learn various art skills, self-regulation, opportunities for leadership and internship. And, we hope that once they are 26 and they are moving further into their adulthood, that maybe they'll want to continue volunteering with Free Arts as a 27-year-old person, that you're going to continue coming back and volunteering. They might not be actively receiving resources through our programs anymore, but they're still connected to us. They're connected as volunteer mentors, connected as teaching artists. Maybe they found a passion in a specific art form and they want to come back as a teaching artist and teach that art form now to younger children or teenagers. That's an opportunity. So those are the hopes. And if even if they're not directly connected to us as a volunteer mentor or a teaching artist, that they still know that Free Arts is here. So whenever they are ready to come back and give back to the community, we're here and they can do that.
So that's awesome. So as a last thought, if there's someone out there that falls in that 18 to 24-ish, 25-ish range and says, I want to be part of that. Mm-hmm. I had this life experience. I want to be part of that. How would they find out more information?
Well, they can contact Free Arts. They can connect with me, Paula Wilson, at Free Arts, and we can get them connected to programs. If they are with a social service agency like Phoenix Dream Center or Foster 360 or another partner that we have, we might already be doing programs with that organization. And if we're not, they can ask their social service agency staff, like, hey, are you all connected to Free Arts? Mm-hmm. Can you reach out to Free Arts and see if they can be a partner with us? And because we would happily build partnerships with more social service agencies so that we can continue to connect with more young adults that can benefit from these resources.
Awesome. Great. Paula,
Wonderful.
thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us all about the alumni.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yep program.
The Yep program at Free Arts.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Canvas of the Heart. We'd love to hear your questions and feedback by email at hello@freeartsaz.org. You can find more information about Free Arts by visiting our website at freeartsaz.org. We'd like to thank the many individual and corporate donors and the hundreds of volunteers that make Free Arts programs possible. Take care, and we will talk to you soon.